Well, thank you so much for staying with the Monday Report. You're just in time for the town hall session. So tonight, we're discussing a rather fundamental issue. So statistics show that half of the candidates who sit their KCSE exams do not make the C+ cutoff mark, which is meant for the university. Where do they go? What options do they have? That is the conversation we're having tonight. Hashtag Monday Report at Citizen TV Kenya. Trevor Mbija. I'll sample some of your views during this broadcast, and they will also help me. It's a panel of experts, parents, students. They are all here, and the experts are on this other side. Let me start by introducing my guest from my immediate left, Mr. Jack Ngare, MD, Microsoft Development Center right here in Kenya. Thank you so much for making time. Dr. Leila Macharia, CEO, Digital Media Institute. Thank you for making time as well. And Kevit Desai, outgoing PS in the State Department of Vocational and Technical Training at the Ministry of Education. Thank you so much for making time. And Kevit, I'll start with you. Earlier on, we were having a conversation about the transition numbers. What are the statistics showing in terms of the transition from primary to secondary and to university?
Yes, indeed, Trevor. I think that we, like you said, you know, we have approximately this year 500,000 students who are not eligible for university education. 150 are, and this is the situation. And even if you look back in history, I mean, in 1973, for example, we had approximately 360,000 into the educational system. We had approximately 160,000 not eligible for university and only 1,000 for university. And so, you know, historically, this has been the situation, and to that effect, we have, as a government, created yet another option for possibilities of young women and men to find a place of skills development and into the labor force. Ultimately, all enter the labor force.
Yeah, and the statistics we were looking at was right from 1972. What is the missing link? What have we been getting wrong all this time?
I think that it's the ability to accept the situation and to create options. And today, fortunately, we are on the path of creating options which address this and create a fit-for-purpose technical vocational training system that creates, you know, as much excitement for young people with curiosity and creativity and resourcefulness to find an opportunity and a pathway into higher education, starting from artisan to craftsman to master craftsman, technician and technologist. And should they wish to rejoin academia, then this is possible because your credits are accounted for, they're accumulated, and therefore you can have yet another chance to go into academia.
And Dr. Macharia, this is the exact gap that you saw, because most of the questions that I get from parents after the KCSE results are out and their children did not get the C+ mark is, where do I take my child? What happens next? What will be your answer to them?
Well, there's many options. I think one of the mistakes that we're making in our society at present is having a very narrow conception of what the next path is after high school. And even beyond that. There's definitely a lot of vocational options, but in the past that was seen as kind of the second choice. What happens when you fail? When really what we're finding is that this path of skills development is really the way that we're going to be able to equip our youth into meaningful livelihoods. Not just earning what they want to earn or they would like to earn, but having opportunities to express their passions creatively. So we think that this path of vocational, creative, and technical training is actually a very good option, because now, especially with new opportunities in the digital economy, it actually offers a very viable livelihood. And we're very excited about it as a potential solution to this large youth employment problem that we're seeing.
But it is that perception really is where the problem comes in, because there's a feeling that if you don't get the C+ mark, then you failed. And yet you really have not failed. How do we turn that around so that people see that there are many options? It's not just the C+ mark that you have to get.
I think, of course, attitudes will change with actually seeing. The proof is in the pudding, as they say. So actually seeing examples of people who have transitioned from having skills that we considered what you do maybe as a hobby. You know, if you think of somebody who's a musician, for example, or somebody who's an animator, or somebody who's building games. But what we've seen now is that the industry and the market for these skills is really exploding with the opportunities that are coming online. And so as we begin to equip the youth, not just with the technical skills, but also with the soft skills that come along with that, you'll start seeing a real acceptance of these options.
Yeah. And Gary, has the corporate world aligned to this conversation? Because even today, when I look at the newspapers, I'll see minimum degree, master's an added advantage. Have you as Microsoft considered just skills, technical skills, and not necessarily the paper that comes with it?
Indeed, I mean, it is a challenge with traditional corporate organizations in terms of recognizing university degrees, postgraduate degrees. But you know, looking at it from a Microsoft perspective, you know, our founder of Microsoft, the famous Bill Gates, was a college dropout, you know, and you can go, the list goes on and on. And so we recognize a lot of things related to skills. And as the Africa Development Center, I think now we are heading towards 70 engineers. And out of those 70 engineers, the last thing we even look at is your university degree. We have, I think, a couple of engineers who did not go to university in Kenya. And these are Kenyans we're talking about. So we respect more the skill and what your capabilities are, your work ethic, and your attitude towards work. At the same time, you know, we recognize the gaps that my two panelists have also highlighted, the fact that, you know, we could ask for someone who has cleared, let's say, fourth form, but doesn't have the right skill sets to join Microsoft. And so what we are doing is pumping in a lot of resources into organizations such as this one here to try and upskill these students.
Yeah, and it's wading through the bureaucracies where the issue is, because usually I like to talk about situations on the ground. A student is fantastic with coding, but how do they get to you? Because the first thing that they'll be asked anywhere they go, who got a degree? Yeah. And how do they even get to you so that you know that they have a talent to begin with?
Yeah. And that goes through the interview process. Yeah. So what happens is that when jobs are posted, it's typically online, and you go and apply online, and then there's some filter mechanisms just to see what you have done, and then you go through an actual interview where you're given problems to solve. Now, it's not that whether you're good at solving them or not, it's your thought process of solving those particular issues. And then the last interview is perhaps, can you code? And then that's when we actually now do the cutoffs. But overall, the whole journey is to actually nurture the talent and see what your capabilities are. And so companies like Microsoft have perfected it through the last couple of years.
Okay. Yeah, you wanted to jump in on this.
Yes. Actually, we have a partnership at the Africa Digital Media Institute together with Microsoft in a concept that they've created called the App Factory. And this is designed to really get at this problem where you have somebody who maybe has the piece of paper, they've gone through, they've earned their IT degree, for example, but there's still that gap before they can become seasoned enough to really become responsive to what the market is looking for. So together, the collaboration is really about putting them in a simulated work environment where under close supervision, but in a very intense, high-pressure environment. They learn to behave as if they're in work. They learn to learn the skills of work. And over time, the program has been actually quite successful. And in the first 3 months after graduation, over 80% of them actually get placed within the ecosystem, including within Microsoft, although in other places as well. But this has been one of the things that we've designed together to be able to solve this problem of people graduating with paper, but not necessarily coming in ready to work.
Over 80%. That transition is even higher than the people who leave university with the papers that we're looking at, DSI.
At a national level, one of our reforms is to ensure that we move the entire national system from a supply-driven initiative to a demand-driven. And how we do this is we've introduced competency-based education and training. And so it starts with a highly inclusive system that involves all stakeholders to address the skills that industry require for greater levels of productivity, innovation, and efficiency. And these skills, as my colleagues have said, are not only technical skills, they're also attitudinal skills, life skills, national values, and so on. And how this system works, and it's incredibly inclusive because it's stakeholders like industry, in particular supervisors and key practitioners who identify the standard, the occupational standard, and subsequently curriculums developed to achieve those standards. And finally, there's an assessment which is done in the presence of the productive or the social sector to verify, you know, the accuracy and the tolerance of skill and capacity that's been achieved. And this is the absolute way to verify, you know, that the skills attained at that level are those that are required in industry. This then not only gives greater confidence to a young person, but most importantly, puts them in a position to be either gainfully employed or self-employed. And it's that ability to measure skills that we haven't done in the past, but now we'd like to do into the future with respect to competency-based education and training.
But how are you partnering with institutions like ADMI who are trying to help bridge the gap, because the government can only do so much?
And so this is absolutely critical, because in ensuring that it's a highly inclusive system, they're part of the system. They sit on the sector skills advisory committees. We've created 67 sector skills advisory committees, one for media, others for farming, like tomato farming, as well as mechanical technicians and automotive repairs. And we've created some 300 occupational standards with their requisite curriculums. And this meant that we had to sit with the industry, we had to sit with the social sector, the public sector, to verify and ensure that their dynamic situation is included in the occupational standard. And thereafter, as we go into the rollout of CBIT, they'll be involved in the assessment. And so the examinations will not be set at a different location, but they'll be set in close collaboration with industry to verify and ensure that it's a fit-for-purpose TVET system.
All right. I now have some students here and some parents as well. Can I hear from people the experience from the ground? You have the microphone there. What do you think is the missing gap? Just start with your name and tell us what you think is the missing link in the education sector, especially for candidates who may not necessarily achieve the C+ mark.
Thank you, Trevor. Check.
Yeah, your microphone is fine. Go ahead.
Lillian here. And I think let's start from where the problem starts, in the sense that let's have an attitude change, because I really like how you pointed it out, in the sense that when you don't attain a C+ and above, it's termed as a failure, and it's actually not. So let's start from basics, from the house. It's not a fail, and let's get the students out there and expose them to, like, the programs that you're driving out there, the app factories, for example. Then I'd also like us to look at, it's beyond the classroom. Yeah, it's a mix of class, virtual, and out there experience. How do we look at it as a collaborative and integrated approach to be able to drive these students, and even the people who would like some upskilling? Where can I go as a professional, for example, to get some additional skills that I like? I mean, it's a little difficult. So let's look at it as an integrated approach, and let's start from the house.
Okay. That's an interesting perspective. Do I have parents here from this other side? I think they're mostly students. Where's a parent? Can I see a parent? Just raise your hand if you're here. They're mostly students. Let's hear from the students themselves. Where's the other microphone? Yeah, there you go. Go ahead. What is the concern from you, where you stand, and what are the issues you're facing?
Okay, thank you so much. My name is Aromondi Okongo. This is my quick take. Actually, to me, sometimes there is a way our society run. And it's not only education where you can achieve your goals. For example, I didn't manage to attend a university, but I venture in art. But the society is kind of challenging a little bit again, whereby the degree holders are looking for job. Job holders are looking for the degree. So that's why I decided to venture in art. I'm a comedian professionally. So what matters here, so long as you can achieve or you can provide for your family. And also those who didn't make it to university, art's also paying. We are also settling our bill. We pay tax. So to me, I just want to encourage those who didn't make it to university, that to fail in education is not to fail in life. There is other activity you can venture in that is productive to your life. Yes, thank you.
All right, brilliant. Just pass the microphone to the next student there who wants to say a word, and then let's hear from you. What do you think the concerns are and the solutions? Because we're always trying to look for solutions. Yeah, go ahead. Start with your name.
I'm Kahora Jeps.
Yeah.
And myself, basically, I never managed to go to university, but that one never blocked me from achieving what I intended to do. So I had this in thought that education is one of the keys for one to succeed.
Yeah.
So I decided also to venture into a market whereby I started, I had an idea of maybe supplying something to restaurant, and that's what I did. And within 3 years, I had made something which changed me as well, and I could feel it's all about creativity.
Yeah.
And also, because once you are creativity, you are able to make your opportunity.
Okay.
But if now you miss to understand that maybe because I fail not to join to a university or in the case maybe a college, that was the end of me. Maybe I could be someone with no meaning, but at least now, let us not see as if education is everything, but we can embrace education is a good thing, of course, I agree. But let's not hinder someone that if without it, you are nobody.
All right.
Yes.
Brilliant. The microphone is still here, and I see some hands being raised behind you. You can pass the microphone there as well. Yes, go ahead. Start with your name.
Hi, my name is Gertrude Njeri, and I believe there's an issue with the teachers that teach in high schools.
Okay.
There's a large portion of students I learned with, and you see teachers largely discouraging these students. And I believe a solution would be to probably create an environment where the students are not discouraged. The teachers can be informed on, despite them teaching physics or English, they can be informed about ways to see potential in kids rather than what is basically taught. Because something that I've seen in the system, in the 844 system, is that teachers truly believe that without passing the normal academic system, you're less, and students take that. Aside from the home situation that the lady talked about, I believe schools are largely playing a large part in discouraging students and putting that mindset that without the C+, your future is broken.
All right.
Yeah.
It's a very interesting perspective you bring. You can pass the microphone to him and also see the back there. Yes, go ahead.
Yes, my name is John Odhiambo. As for me, I have a different perspective because I work at public relations in one of the technical universities in Kenya. I do receive so many of the students with DB plus and below grades. So I do handle them. I know what is happening. We have so many technical institutions like vocational training. Our parents are not even aware of those vocational trainings. Our parents even doesn't have the information about these vocational trainings. They're just feeling if your student or your son or your daughter scored D plus and below, you are dead. So the first thing government should inform them, government should empower them, government should advertise this vocational training. Because sometimes we do receive a student want to do like, a boy want to do something like graphic design, but the parent is insisting you should do certificate in something. So it's our work to convince the parent that what the student want to do is something good that can help the student. Like today around 4, I was handling a case, a parent from Mombasa. He was insisting the boy, to do something in public health and something. But the boy wanted to do video animation, something in animation. So the boy was convincing me to convince the parent to accept what he feeling like doing. So it's parent and the government also to help young people understand what they want.
Yeah. The 2019 Kenya Education Sector Plan, that is inclusive now to introduce, once again, vocational training in higher education and primary education. And so this will go a long way, once again, in introducing technical skills and vocational skills to young people and trying to encourage them as we go forward. And it's true that as the government builds these institutions in each constituency, in fact, over the last 2 years, we built 34 institutions, and now we have a total of 174 institutions. What I've found is that many times in each constituency and in the remote parts of this country, this establishment is very new for the community. And someone needs to take them through this investment. And within each constituency, we've deliberately ensured that as part of equity, that we have invested in equipment and technology that's world-class. So if I take you to Samburu, you have complete air conditioning training department center, everything from a fridge to, you know, a car air conditioner, an abattoir system, an industrial fridge, a system that's found in an aeroplane, and all the ancillaries and testing facilities to train and transfer that skill, with a view that once you are skilled and competent, you're able to enter any opportunity with confidence. And so throughout the country, you know, in the remotest parts, whether it's Lysamis, which has a fully fledged welding system from arcs, TIG, MIG, undersea water welding systems, or all the other institutions, there's a deliberate effort to upgrade these skills to the highest level, but this needs to be transferred to the local community. And this is the nexus that needs to be created, not only by a link to the community, but also the local private sector and all other stakeholders in order to support the system. TVET is an inclusive system. It requires all stakeholders to be involved. It's not an introverted system. It works with cooperation. And this is something that we need to introduce vigorously in view of the fact that the policy environment has changed. Now we have all these institutions, 174 institutions, and for what purpose? Today we've seen the enrollment increase significantly over the last 2 years, from 70,000 to 250,000. But that's not enough, because on average, you know, a country needs you know, at least 70% of its enrollment and external enrollment involved in TVET. This is how first world countries have succeeded. You know, they've transferred skills and competencies on an equal footing to young people. As much as we need academics, we also need technical vocational skills in order to power the economy and to realize gains of productivity and innovation. So this is something that we really missed out, but we're in a position to change that, because not only do we have excess capacity with respect to the possibility of further enrollment of 350,000, but as government completes its promise with respect to 1 TTI per constituency, we'll be able to reach the 1 million mark, and this will then transition into a young person having a community of TVET throughout their lives, you know, being able to pick up skills from all sorts of different locations, promoting social cohesion, the ability to move around and appreciate other cultures, but also be trained to international standards that promote their mobility beyond Kenya and into the East African community, beyond the continent and into world opportunities. This indeed is a great opportunity and great excitement that can actually be built around this.
Okay. Dr. Macharia, I have to take a quick break, but I'll come to you to tell me, what are the policy gaps you're seeing? What would you like to see in terms of policy change to enable institutions like ADMI bring in more people as well, and also bridge the gap that is there as we speak? And I'll also come to Jack in just a bit. But keep your views coming using the hashtag Monday Report at Citizen TV Kenya. Trevor Mbija, we're back in just a bit.